Every South African runner knows the Two Oceans Marathon and their slogan, the world's most beautiful marathon. But behind the medals, crowds, and iconic route, the Two Oceans Marathon has been through its share of challenges, to say the least. From board collapses and financial struggles to rebuilding the trust with the city of Cape Town, 2026 marks a pivotal year for one of Cape Town's most beloved races. In today's episode, I sit down with Chris, the chairperson of the Two Oceans Marathon, to talk about where the race stands today, how it's being rebuilt from the inside out, and what it takes to steer such a massive event into a new era. We unpack the lessons learned, the future of the trail runs, and what it really means to protect the legacy of Two Oceans for generations to come. This is a story about resilience, renewal, and running for something bigger than just the finish line. Chris, welcome to the Trail Chasers.
Hello.
Obviously, we're not talking too much about trail today, but I think what we're talking about is quite topical. Um, yeah, I mean, how did you jump into Two Oceans, and what made you jump in?
I think I've been involved with Two Oceans since forever because I'm a life member of Celtics, which means I've been around for an awful long time, which means I've been part of the club organising the race back in the early days.
Yeah,
Chet Sainsbury could rope me in when I got back from the Defence Force. I managed the feeding stations at one stage. And then around about 2010, we started getting pressure from ASA in terms of putting the race on as something bigger than a club. So we started with a committee of Western Province and Celtics, and that turned into a Section 21 company, which turned into a non-profit company.
sure.
So that was 2010 through to 2014, that process. And then I stepped off the board around about 2018. And then after this year's race, Western Province asked me to come back and see if I could resurrect the mess that was lying in pieces
Yeah, yeah.
after the board collapsed after this year's race. So
And what was the first thought when they asked you that?
um, I said yes. I don't know. I didn't give it much thought,
Think
to be
first,
perfectly honest.
say yes
Say
first, and
yes,
then
and then.
yeah,
So it was definitely on an interim basis, but I gave myself some objectives in terms of win back the trust of the city, get the AGM done, and find a way of making the race sustainable.
yeah,
So, I've met all three of those basically. So I said, okay, let me now put into place what we were talking about, which is putting money where your mouth is.
yeah. And when I say kind of Two Oceans Marathon, what is the kind of first thing that kind of steps to mind for you or comes into your mind?
Well, the old slogan of the world's most beautiful marathon is probably
Mm,
still relevant, and beautiful can take on many forms, but it's the obviously the scenic beauty of the race, but also the people that go into it, and
yeah,
that's really what makes Two Oceans special, is the geest that people have around the race. And certainly since coming back, there's an amazing amount of goodwill out there.
mm,
People want this race to succeed,
yeah,
so it is the world's most beautiful marathon.
yeah. And I mean, you're obviously the chairperson, but if you had a business card, what would it kind of say underneath your name, for the role? How would you define that?
Okay, so it obviously says chairperson, Two Oceans NPC, sucker for punishment. And it's a bit of a thankless task because everybody's happy when everything's going well, but you're the first one to blame when
Mm,
something goes wrong. So it's a difficult one, and you really have to believe in the product and want to be able to do this job.
yeah,
The days of volunteers stepping forward is sort of gone
mm,
in many ways, and the fact that they expect a board of volunteers to step up and say and put on the race,
mm,
because that's what's been happening for the last while. There's
yeah,
no backbone that says
mm,
we're so, and the past board just had to get in, and I don't know how people actually do it with permanent jobs.
yeah,
I'm lucky that I'm retired, so I can put time into it, but
mm.
it is a lot of work,
Yeah.
even if you're not organizing.
No, for sure. And how hard was that, like the mindset kind of stepping into, I guess, this new era of, like social media and, as you've said, like volunteers not just wanting to volunteer anymore, and coming from where you were, how difficult was it to be like, okay, we need to get with the times type thing?
Well, I haven't been involved for a while, so things have definitely changed. When I left the board, there was a race director and an office.
Yeah.
But nowadays, and for 2025, there was literally a board and a couple of people.
Yeah.
And that in itself was worrying. And so we had a few options to consider, and it was a very easy decision to make which way we had to go.
Yeah.
You either find a new race director, which takes time, then you've got to build resources around that.
Yeah.
The other one is the board carries on doing it, which wasn't an option.
Yeah.
And the third one is to get in some group or body to help.
Yeah.
And that's the way we've gone.
Yeah. And how's that process been so far, since you've kind of appointed Stillwater?
Okay, well, the background to appointing Stillwater was that the previous board had been talking to them and other parties for about 2 years, but not making any decisions. So when we got called in by the city, they gave us an ultimatum that you show us you can organize this race, otherwise there isn't going to be a race. And one of the things they'd been promised was the appointment of a third-party staging partner.
Yeah.
And so we had a choice of two, really. There were some others that applied, but they weren't in the same category. So, yeah, so it was a 1 week turnaround.
Yeah.
Interview, decision, prepare a presentation and submit to the city.
Yeah.
And fortunately, they were happy with the way we chose and what we presented.
And, why do you think that there was kind of such resistance in the past to appoint a third party like Stillwater?
I think there's an element of old-fashioned, which says the race has been organised by a race director and a committee.
Yeah.
And so there's that. But there's also an element of the board thinking that it knows all the answers.
Yeah.
So it could have been personalities that said, we know how to do this better than anybody else, or as well as, so why don't we just do it? So, yeah, it's a combination. And I think an outside party is always perceived to be too expensive.
Yes.
So there's the commercial element that says we can't afford to pay a company to do it. But the way we're structuring it with Stillwater is that they are coming in on risk.
Okay.
So we are going to share the profits, but they are taking the bigger risk than we are.
Sure.
They see the potential in the race, which is massive. I think the biggest challenge of the race commercially has been a lack of sponsorship in the last X years. Total Sports came on board and basically rescued the finances. But through COVID and after COVID, the race has been running at a loss.
Yeah.
We used to have a fairly healthy reserve, but that's been chewed up over the years.
Yeah.
So there's definitely space for sponsors, and with trust and with the right handling of the sponsor packages, I think those sponsors will come back.
And, I guess it's fresh on the mind after yesterday's Cape Town Marathon, cancellation. Firstly, what was your kind of reaction to that, and what are the lessons that you kind of, learned in the kind of last 24 hours?
Well, I'm really sympathetic to the runners and the organisers and sponsors and everybody else that goes into a race, because I've had to cancel races before as safety officer, and it's a very difficult decision to make, and nobody likes you for it. but unfortunately these things sometimes have to be done. But so what does it mean for Two Oceans? Well, there are a number of elements to it. Just learning from the lessons of Cape Town. Obviously, we run risks putting on events in a time of year that can vary from anything from hot to sunny to stormy to anything else. And Two Oceans has seen it all in the last 55 years. So we've got contingency plans that need to be reinforced. Obviously, we've got Oakopseweg as an alternative, but Chapman's Peak is a sensitive area. It's susceptible to wind, susceptible to rock falls and that sort of thing. So those contingencies are very real, and we need to make sure we know exactly what those are. So from the planning point of view, and with Stillwater coming on board, they're going to need to focus on those, and they are already very conscious of the lesson from Cape Town. The other thing that's going to affect us now is the qualifying for Two Oceans 2026.
Yeah.
Cape Town Marathon provided about 25% of the runners with a qualifier for this last 2025. So it was like 3,500 people used Cape Town as a qualifier.
Wow.
So it's reasonable to expect that would be a similar thing, would have been. So there is that challenge of people finding qualifiers, and so Wynand's Marathon, looking locally now, Wynand's is sold out. Peninsula's nearly sold out, and Red Hill hasn't got the biggest capacity. So maybe we've got to look at working with Sanlam and or Western Province Athletics to put on some other form of qualifier event, whether it's multiple laps around Kailami or Kalani. That's sort of thing maybe we've got to consider.
And we've chatted a bit obviously about the problems of last year's race and the problems that you've had in previous years. Is there a list of priorities, or is it kind of like just dealing with everything all at once?
I think the biggest objective for 2026 is to earn the trust of the city again. They've lost trust of Two Oceans board and Two Oceans event. So we've got to earn that trust again. Once that trust is back, I think there are challenges for us in terms of how we position the race going forward. Obviously, it is South Africa's biggest half marathon already. It's not the biggest ultra marathon. I think there's growth potential in both, but to do that, we've got to find some alternatives. The route is a bit of a restriction, but UCT is the biggest barrier. That field has 4 exits, and the evacuation protocols on that field are very restrictive. So we are looking at options, and it's not a new problem that it's been looked at before, but with Stillwater coming on board and their experience of street finishes that they've done with Absa City, and the way they've found venues around the country, we might just find some alternative.
So we were chatting about the UCT as the finish venue, and that kind of leads nicely into the next question. How do you balance that tradition versus innovation?
Basically by having the runner as the center of every decision. So is it good for the runner? Is it what the runners want? There are obviously some basics that Two Oceans offers, and that's fundamentally the route, especially the ultra route. The half route probably has got a little more flexibility, but everything from Muizenberg through to Constantia Neck is pretty fixed. So it gives us a little bit of scope for changing the start and finish, but so that as I say, the runner is the important thing. The other features that go with it, obviously Blue Number Club is very close to the old timers' hearts, and they want to be recognized and treated nicely. But spectators are another very core element of Two Oceans. It's probably got the best supporter base of any race that you can take part in. It is the thing that differentiates Two Oceans half from any other half, is the supporter involvement. And if you see on our new website, which we redesigned, runners and supporters are equal status. And that is fundamental to the thinking. So runner centricity is probably the key to everything.
And, I mean, obviously coming back into Two Oceans, the numbers have obviously expanded dramatically, and obviously everyone wants a place in Two Oceans, and that's not physically possible. So how are you kind of dealing with that, and I guess not running into the same problem as last year?
Okay, so the oversell was the biggest flaw of the 2025 event. The city allows 17,000 on the half marathon to start, and there is a historical drop-off from the number of entries through to the number of starters, but they stretched that a bit too far this year and lost track of how that drop-off was going to happen. So this year we are not overselling at all. We will not sell one single entry more than 17,000. The challenge, of course, will then be to get 17,000 or 16,999 runners to line up. So substitutions will be important, and we'll try and facilitate that right up to the expo even. To try and make sure that every entry that is available is utilized, because we don't want to have 15,500 people starting when there's actually 17,000 spaces available. So that's a little bit of a balancing act. But the goodwill and the demand for entries is there. We had 44,000 applications in the ballot process for about 20, what's the figure? It's about 15 plus 11, so it's 26,000 positions. So we could double sell the race, basically. So there is... And those figures are important for the city so that they know what the potential is out there. Because they need to come to the party if we're going to make any big changes, or they have the final say. So they've got to be happy with whatever we propose.
And is that 17,000, is that the city's kind of just based on what they've, historically given, or are there factors to consider?
The factors are... congestion on the route is one element, because you've got to be able to get emergency vehicles to people that need it. So congestion on the route is mitigated by the start process, batching and that sort of thing. So that's why we may even have more batches this next year in smaller groups, spreading them out as far as possible. But then the capacity on the finish field is the big one. And the UCT field, rugby field, is a big factor in that, because without that A field, the numbers drop to 16,000. Because it just means that everybody's squashed into smaller space. But fortunately, they finish their rugby season the week before Oceans next year. They finish on Easter Monday. So that field's available. So we're not allowed to build anything on it, but we can use it as capacity relief to get people moving.
And if you kind of look at the future, or your vision of where Two Oceans goes or what it becomes, what does that look like?
It's an aspirational event. We want people to be able to take part. We want it to stay locally relevant. I know Sanlam Cape Town Marathon is looking to become a world relevant event, but I think the demand for ultra running is less overseas. So we will definitely get tourists and coming in to run Two Oceans, but that's the local runner is our priority. And if we can increase numbers, then we can obviously look to bring in more tourists and foreigners. But right now, it's a South African race.
Yeah.
So I have a vision for a 55,000 capacity, and funny enough, that vision is the same as it was in 2012.
Wow.
When we had started the company, we did a vision mission evaluation, and 55,000 was the figure that we talked about, but that was split up between the ultra, the half, the trail, the fun runs, the international friendship run, the nappy dash. So those, I think, are all things we would like to revisit.
Yeah.
They form part of the uniqueness of Two Oceans. No other race is quite as inclusive in terms of the range of activities that it offered,
Yeah.
and no one's really filled that space.
Yeah.
So I think there's an opportunity for us to do that still.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned the trail races, because obviously this is a trail running podcast, and I think for me as a trail runner, it's kind of felt like those were just stuck on, for what reason I'm not really sure, but yeah, it kind of stuck on without thought and consideration. Is it important to the race? Is it going ahead next year, and what was your thinking coming into it?
Okay, you must remember the history of the Two Oceans Trail. We were very much at the forefront of trail running when we first put that on. In fact, it was Trevor Ball and myself that pushed to get a trail race going. I was chairman of Trail Western Province at that time, and leading the breakaway of trail and making sure that it wasn't just sucked into mainstream athletics rules and that sort of thing. So I was very integral in that process, and we developed what in those days were fairly adventurous trail runs. At the side of Table Mountain was not used much, so it was an evolution. Obviously nowadays there are many trail races all over the place, so the uniqueness of Two Oceans Trail has sort of got lost, and so I guess the passion for putting it on declined. It also became a bit of a headache for Two Oceans. It needed a separate start and finish. You couldn't really use the finish that was on the field. So I can understand why previous boards have sidelined it. Whether it's going to take place again this next year is still under review, remembering that the Friday before the 11th and 12th of April is a normal working day.
Yeah.
This year it was in varsity holidays, so we could use UCT.
Yeah.
So next year we can't use UCT as a start-finish. We can't use the local schools as a start-finish. So places like Wynberg and Sachs and that sort of thing, it's a normal school day.
Yeah.
So we've got to find another venue, and that is the challenge at this moment, is to find a venue that we can park, where we can have a crowd without interfering with normal traffic.
And is the idea behind the trail race to give trail runners the kind of Two Oceans experience? Is that the idea, or is it
There are very few trail races on Table Mountain, so it's an opportunity to give them that experience. I think people still feel that it's got some value. It makes that complete weekend, especially if we head back towards that multi-event weekend. So it's an obvious one to try and include.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sandparks won't allow youngsters on the mountain, except in very controlled environments. So it's got an age limit of 18. Whether we could put on a youngsters trail as well, it's worth thinking about. Hasn't been done yet, but
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I guess dealing with the city of Cape Town on one hand and then sandparks on the other, I can't imagine that, that to be quite a tough balancing act.
yeah, it's almost entirely on Sandpark's property. So the city just worries about the parking and the access. And we're probably going to outsource the mountain side of it. It was outsourced this year in 2025 to somebody who mucked it up rather, but we'll go to someone with more track record.
Yeah. Okay, so Stillwater won't take on the...
I would think we'll find somebody else to actually do the physical route marking.
Yes, yeah.
But Stillwater's experience in trail, they obviously used to do African X and Xterra, so they're very aware of trail racing.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess a new problem is, or a good thing and a bad thing is the rise of kind of social media and, this, kind of people criticizing every kind of decision. Obviously, there were mistakes that were made last year, but how do you kind of deal with that, especially now, with too many people applying and, you're getting everyone kind of shouting at you on social media, and how are you dealing with that?
I think our basic philosophy at the moment is transparency and openness and response.
Yeah.
The previous board went the other way. They closed Lager, turned off social media commentary, and that just gets everybody's back up.
Yeah.
So we've tapped into the social media skills that Stillwater have. People like Jackie and the team are very familiar with dealing with criticism, but regular information, transparency, keeping people informed. We've already revamped the website. It wasn't built on a stable platform, so we've had to just rejig it completely.
Yeah.
We did that in a sort of 10-day turnaround, which was amazing. So information is key to keeping people up to date. And of course, we've got Stuart Mann on board.
Yeah.
On the board, and it's better to have your critics close than to have them sniping from the outside. So we are using Stuart as an insider, giving him enough information to spread the word, helping him be part of the solution rather than part of highlighting the problem.
Yeah.
So he's happy to do that role, and he loves data, and like feed him information and let him run with it. You just got to keep his reins on a little bit, make sure he doesn't jump the gun on certain things, but generally he's very much a positive voice now as opposed to a critical one.
Yeah. And, what are your opinions of, are you kind of happy with how things have gone, how the board has been, put together, and so it's the relationships with Stillwater so far?
Yeah, we are still in the draft phase of the final contract with Stillwater. There are different opinions as to how it should work, and we're just working through those with particularly some of the new board members. It's probably the biggest decision that Two Oceans has made since moving the event off Easter weekend.
Yeah.
So it deserves thorough examination of both the commercial elements, the liability elements, the responsibilities, and it really restructures Two Oceans completely. Our staff will largely move to Stillwater and be taken over by them. We won't have a need for a big office environment, but the race still needs an office, so that's not going away.
Yeah.
But it's very much a case of assigning roles rather than abdicating the role.
Yeah.
So the board still stays responsible for the race, making the major decisions, but a team that is skilled and knowledgeable will do the detail.
Yeah. And what does it say about the Two Oceans that you had so many people applying even after last year and the amount of complaints?
It just proves that the goodwill's there. The sponsors want it, the runners want it, the city wants it. Even though they were very cheesed off with the race after this year's race, and because everybody just got embarrassed by the breach of permit. But fundamentally, it's good for Cape Town.
Yeah.
It is one of the big five of Cape Town's sporting environment. And it brings in runners from all over the country. And again, we just got to build some trust with them that they know that. And unfortunately, this incident with Cape Town Marathon isn't particularly good for our Cape Town's image as an event organizer.
Yeah.
No matter how correct the decision was, there will always be those that would have said, "Oh, we can run in any weather. We can don't look. We all went for a run after the race."
Yeah.
But the damage had already been done by then. So, yeah. So Two Oceans needs to, but the support in Cape Town, or the running environment in Cape Town, is growing so rapidly. Every single stat is up year on year. The number of licensed runners, the number of temporary licensed runners, the demand for entries, the races that sell out, the growth of every single event just says that there is a demand.
Yeah.
And so even if we end up focusing on the locals, we will sell out Two Oceans at the moment without any difficulty.
Yeah. And, on that license kind of element and the balance act, between the elites and the kind of everyday runner, and then obviously the balance between the clubs and their involvement and licensed runners versus, this, as you say, new wave of people who aren't really interested in club membership, how are you going to kind of balance all of that?
Yeah, well, this is where I put on my Western Province road running hat. Clubs are the backbone of the South African road running scene. Very different to trail running.
Yeah.
Trail running relies on companies to put on events. Every single trail run is a commercial exercise, whereas road running relies on the clubs to put on the events. And even the big ones generally have a club involvement somewhere. In fact, it's a requirement from Western Province that a club is involved. So you take ABSA Series, that's Brackenfell Club. Yeah. You take Total Sports Ladies Race, that's Edgemead Club. Yeah. They might not be doing the heavy lifting, but they are involved. Yeah. And they are held responsible for the actions of their staging partner. Yeah. So clubs are fundamental to the whole structure. So we retain a loyalty to the clubs, because if we break down the clubs, we'll break down events. Yeah. So we can't let temp runners be cheaper, for instance, than joining a club. So that's unfortunately why temp licenses remain relatively high. But if you're only running an occasional race, then it's not that important. Yeah. So, and they want to run the aspirational ones. They want to run the gun run. They want to run Spa Ladies. They want to run Two Oceans. Yeah. And the majority of the people doing those events are not club runners. Yeah. Spa Ladies is about 10% club runners. Sure. Out of 15,000. Gun run, in the half marathon, it's probably 50-50. In the 10K, it's probably 60% temps. Yeah. So it's a massive revenue stream for the province. Without the big races and without temp licenses, Western Province wouldn't have income. Sure. So that funds everything that goes into athletics. Sure. We can send teams to track and field or cross country because of the success of road running. Yeah,
very tricky balance.
It is a big balancing act.
And then on the kind of elite side, and putting on a competitive race and attracting like the top talent versus, making sure that it's a race for all. How do you see that kind of working?
we've always had an elite element of Two Oceans. It hasn't been something that we've actively gone and recruited, and maybe with Stillwater involved because of their connection to top athletes through the ABSA series, it's possible that we might start thinking about bringing some, particularly the African team. There's no reason why the top Kenyans and Ethiopians shouldn't step up from a marathon to an ultra marathon. We've seen Lesotho, we've seen Zimbabwe doing it already, but the East Africans haven't really found ultras to be part of their appetites. But I think we could do it. I think we might just bring in some competition for Gerda.
That'd be great.
We know that she is probably not fast enough in a marathon, but at the moment no one's touching her on the ultras. So it'd be interesting to see whether some top East African competition would still give her a run on. So there's some television scope there for some spicy marketing.
And when you stand on the finish line next year, what are you hoping, you're feeling you've achieved, or, what is a good day if you're standing on that finish line and, on the Sunday, and, what would you be kind of happy with?
So for 2026, I would just want full capacity, event went off flawlessly, everybody happy, everybody gets their medal, the party happens, television coverage is slick, so sponsors are all happy. So 26 is all about same again with excellence. 27, different story. That might be where we might make some changes. 26, as I say, is same again, but we are already planning to move the expo back to CTICC. We're looking at some activations around the expo that moves off. And then the other one, which I'm being reminded from my right wing, is the whole TOMI aspect. That's the Two Oceans Marathon Initiative, which is the charity element of Two Oceans. It was envisaged back, or there was a vision back in 2014 for what TOMI could be, and unfortunately it hasn't fulfilled its full mandate, in that at the moment it's only about selling some entries. But there is so much that can go into a bigger vision in terms of athlete development, athlete assistance, grassroots development, club development, club assistance. So that is what the board can really focus on now that it's not having to organize the race directly.
So are those for charity entries? Is that what?
Yeah, so we are, for instance, one of the changes we're doing this year is the charity entries are being split between TOMI as a charity and other charities. So we are going to severely restrict the other charities in terms of how many entries they can sell, because we want to use the money for the projects that we identify as being critical to TOMI's vision. There are 4 categories of charity that we identify with, and we want to make sure that it goes into those. So as much as I love animals, that's not really where Two Oceans is. It's about people, it's about health, it's about environment. So those are the sort of key areas we want to support. So that is a whole exercise in itself that needs to be re-envisaged and activated, which will be one of the pleasurable things of.
And when all is said and done, what do you hope your kind of legacy is as chairman?
Basically, to make Two Oceans sustainable. How can it continued to deliver in a semi-amateur world?
Yeah.
How can the board members rotate and not immediately have a negative impact on the organization? How can the governance be assured so that you don't get negative criticism about the decisions that are made, the people that are involved, and the things that happen? So strong governance, strong sustainability, innovation, positive change, all part of what I think the race needs, and I hopefully be a catalyst for that.
Amazing. Thank you very much, and good luck. You've got a busy year ahead of you, I'm sure. And yeah, we're excited. It started off on a good foot, so excited to see where it goes.
Thank you.
Thank you.